Hey guys, Youngblood with you to give you the updated information on the Hercules from the Q&A CIG released a day or so ago. Jumping right into it, we find out that the roles of this ship are much like we'd expect from the crew members based on what we would see on other ships. So basically you have a primary pilot, a co-pilot who can operate the guns remotely if desired, otherwise they're probably going to be spending most of their time managing shields and radar and power, and then you do get a dedicated remote gunner seat as well. Now, when asked why the C2 only had 2 medium coolers while other large ships have 2 large coolers, they said it's best to have an escort with you, but they plan on, you're going to kind of plan on balancing this out though, to basically try and make it tough enough to survive and escape. They did say that other ships with larger coolers have other systems that need them, like life support on the Genesis or computers on the Carrack. Now, the size of the ship does mean that you're going to need a large landing pad when you go to set down at stations, and in terms of countermeasures, there are 6 launchers spread out over the hull that's going to give you good coverage and protection from missiles and torpedoes. That also likely means that they're going to have good options when it comes to the variety of types of countermeasures that you can bring along. Now, when asked about the medium armor on the C2 and the heavy armor on the A2 and M2, they gave us very general answers, saying that they are general durability guidelines, but the heavier the armor gets, the more impact it has on speed, thus the C2 being the fastest of the group, but also the weakest. Now, for example, the A2, the M2, and the Starfarer Gemini all have heavy armor, and they would end up being much more durable than the C2 with its medium armor. Now, speaking of the Starfarer, it was asked what the benefit would be to using the C2 over the Starfarer if you replace the fuel pods with the external cargo pods, and it was that the C2 carries the cargo internally, so it would be much more secure, as well as the C2 having the ramp system for ground vehicle transportation, which it specializes in, also having a tall enough ceiling for things like the tonk, and the ability to drive in, drive out from the front to the back or the back to the front. Now, in addition to those ramps, the ship also has a lift in the middle of the cargo area that's going to allow you to exit the ship to the ground, so you're not having to depressurize the entire cargo bay, and that same lift will take you up to the cockpit area as well. Now, as far as living quarters are concerned, there's 3 beds for the crew, a single toilet and a shower combination, and a small kitchenette. Now, while the C2 is a little bit more civilian in nature, it's not necessarily more livable than the others, it just may have different textures and design from the military-focused ones. And then we start getting into the bomb questions. They did confirm that you can't replace the bomb section of the A2 with cargo because even if you don't have the bombs loaded, the mechanisms are still there and going to be in the way. You do have the ability to put 234 SCU of cargo in the front portion of the cargo area, but then you can't end up carrying the tonk. Someone asked an interesting question about dropping cluster bombs in space to make a minefield, and the answer was that they aren't really sure how bomb detonation is going to work at this point, but they do have it intended right now to just use impact for the cue for detonation. They are considering an option, though, to do proximity explosions, though, and if they have a long enough timer on them, then it could potentially work. I think even an impact detonation still works in a way, even in space, but I'd be curious how long the bomb stays active while it's out there. Now, when comparing the size 10 MOAB to the size 10 torpedoes, the bombs are going to be more powerful and have a wider radius, though they are going to be unguided. Additionally, torpedoes also get the benefit of being used in space as well as in atmosphere, which I assume the bombs will mostly only be used on surfaces. Now, they are considering different types of bombs at some point too, like we see with missiles today, so maybe you get like, airburst bombs or something like that. They say right now, bombs are going to be limited to this ship and other ground assault vehicles. However, they are looking at ways to get ships like the Retaliator the ability to drop bombs too. They're probably not going to be able to carry the size 10 MOABs, though maybe smaller like size 6, size 7, or maybe just going in with the cluster bomb module may be a better way to go on the Retaliator. And then as far as outposts are concerned, their only real defense against the bombs would be the planned anti-air systems that players could set up. However, they're not really sure what bombing an outpost would do to a player's reputation yet. So basically, outposts may be a real target for those that's, bombs at some point, and really depending on what size it takes to destroy one, could be a pretty big pain in the ass if you end up owning an outpost. So that's basically it. We got some good information there. I think most of that's about the bombing because I think that's where most of the curiosity stems from. I think my original recommendation still stands. I think the C2 is a pretty good option at this point. I think the M2 is a little bit costly for what you're getting in return. And I think the A2 is just way too expensive and still a little bit too niche unless you really have dreams of dropping big old bombs and playing AC-130. So that's it for this video. If you guys have questions, let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned for more and have yourselves a wonderful day. Take care.